Hey guys, and welcome! Today I want to give you some quick tips to gadgets and throwables in Battlefield 2042 that I think are pretty useful and that you should definitely know about. And we're gonna start with the Frag Grenade, and tip number 1, you can throw them back. You can actually do this with most grenade types, but for the frag grenades you have more time to react and it's also more useful. So when one is lying close to you, just look at it and quickly press E on PC, X on Xbox or square on PlayStation to push it away from you. When the returned grenade should explode near an enemy, they will deal damage to them. Next ones are the incendiaries, and they cannot be thrown back, but they're pretty useful to hit enemies in open vehicles like the LATV. They won't deal damage to the vehicle itself though, but they will kill the enemies inside of it. So if an LATV is passing by and you don't have any anti-vehicle stuff with you, just throw an incendiary inside and it should solve the problem. In addition, they also deal damage to gadgets like the Insertion Beacon or Boris Sentry Gun, and that can also be very helpful if you don't want to waste your ammo on them or expose yourself by shooting. Just hit the gadget with the incendiary and it will do the job. Note that this will not work on Irish Cover or Crawford's Mounted Vulcan, since these are gadgets you can use as well, even if the enemy has placed them. Then there are some tips for the smoke grenade, and they also count for the smoke grenade launcher that you can equip as a gadget and the smoke underbarrel launchers that are available for some weapons. And the first thing you should know is that with smoke you can counter incendiaries. If the enemies have blocked a door with flames or have thrown an incendiary grenade at a downed teammate, you can easily extinguish the fire by throwing a smoke grenade at it. With a launcher this can be a bit harder sometimes since you have to hit the fire directly, but with the grenades this usually works pretty well. If you're looking for options to gain more XP during a match, smoke can also be very helpful, cause for all enemies that teammates kill inside of smoke you have laid, you will get an assist. And if one of your teammates heals or revives someone who is inside of your cloud of smoke, you will also receive additional XP for so-called concealed heals and revives. Then there are the concussion grenades, and here I only have one tip. If you don't like it when they turn your screen white after hitting you, you can also change this effect to dark and your screen will turn black instead. This can be set under options and then accessibility, and is pretty useful if you play in a darker environment. For the Prox Sensor there are also two tips I can give you, and the first one is that they can also be thrown back. But here it's a lot more important to do this, cause then these sensors will work for your team instead and will spot enemies. So every time I see one of these sensors around, I just press E, X or square when close to them and push them away from my team. If they are too far away to throw them back, just shoot them with your weapon or hack them with RAW to destroy them. Hacking them also has the advantage that they will not only be removed from the map, but will also spot the enemy who has thrown the sensor on the minimap for a short amount of time. Then there are the EMP grenades, and just like smoke, these are a lot more useful than you might think. They can not only be used to disrupt infantry or disable the weapon systems of vehicles, but you can also throw them at all kinds of gadgets to set them out of order for a short time, like Boris Sentry Gun for example. But when thrown at AT mines, they actually have the most surprising effect, cause then the mines will be completely removed from the map without causing any explosion. You won't get any XP for this as well, but you also don't have the risk of drawing attention at you by shooting the mines or receive damage. But the most useful mechanic of the EMP grenades, at least for me, is that they neutralize the control panels of doors and gates. So if there is one of these red steel doors and the enemy already took control of it and you don't want to force open it, you can simply throw an EMP towards the door. The blast will neutralize the control panel and open the door, and you can then take control of it yourself if you want to. What the EMP grenade also does, but that counts for most of the other grenades as well, is dealing a small amount of damage. I already killed people with concussion grenades, and I also destroyed a full vehicle with an EMP, but it's always a bit of luck for this to happen. However, if you should do a kill and one of those grenades show up as a weapon, don't be surprised. It's not a bug, it's a feature. And as the last weapon of the throwables, there is the new throwing knife, and here I only have two hints to its functionality that you might not know yet. And the first one is that it's one shot on a range of up to 100 meters to the head and the upper body. But above 100 meters you would need two knives to the upper body for a kill. The drop of these knives on range is pretty big, so it's really hard to hit anything at some point, but if you do, it's really satisfying. What you should also know is that you can pick them up again, no matter if you have hit or missed your target. So if you play it right, you should never run out of knives. If you should, you can simply resupply them at an ammo crate or Angel's loadout drop, just like any other throwable. Next up are all the gadgets you can equip, starting with the repair tool. And the first thing you should know about it is that it can not only repair vehicles, but also damage them. Just get close to an enemy tank, for example, and hold the trigger to quickly disassemble it. If you're facing infantry, you can kill them with the tool as well. What you can also do is use the tool in the open passenger seats of air or ground vehicles and repair it from the inside. This comes in handy for weekly missions where you have to do repairs or simply to keep your team's helicopters alive much longer. And when you do this, or repair a vehicle in general, you will receive repair assists. So if a driver, pilot or gunner in a vehicle you recently repaired does a kill, you will be rewarded with an assist. To make it a bit easier for you to tell which vehicle needs a repair, the devs also added an icon with one of the last updates that shows if a vehicle is in need of help. Just look out for it and get to work. Then there's the FXM Missile Launcher, and to use this one efficiently, it's most important to know the count of enemy flares. So when you log onto a heli, they will most likely start to fire flares. And the first one fires multiple flares, and after this there's 5 double flares. Once they are fired, the aircraft is vulnerable and you can log onto it. So counting the flares can be really helpful to know the perfect time to log on and fire. But the FXM can not only be used for larger air vehicles, but also for small ones like Casper's drone or the heli drone on Arica Arbor and North Shore canals. These little things can be hard to hit with your normal weapon, but with the FXM you can easily remove them from the map. And what you also might not know about this launcher is that when a ground vehicle was designated by the Soflam, you can also log onto it with the FXM. So if you see one of those yellow rectangles on the map, no matter if it is an air or ground vehicle, you can instantly log onto them and fire your missile. And that's what you can also do with the next gadget, the Recoilless M5. No matter if it is an air or ground vehicle, if it has a yellow rectangle, it's an open invitation for you to log on and fire. What you should also know about the Recoilless when it comes to destroying vehicles is that some of them only need one shot. And that's the Robot Dog Ranger, the Nightbird and the 2 stealth helicopters. They are a bit harder to hit because of their agility, but if you hit them, it's a kill. To make it a bit easier for you to counter ground vehicles, the M5 also has a great HUD and display with which you can perfectly measure distances. So if you point the crosshair of the Recoilless at an object and look at the display, it will show you the exact range at R and the estimated time of flight of the shell down below. With the lines inside of the scope, you can then set the right distance for your shot, because these are numbered from 1 to 5. For an object that is 100 meters away, you would use the first line. For an object 200 meters away, it would be the second line, and so on. So let's say an object is 250 meters away. When holding your crosshair at the point, you can see the distance in the display. Then aim down sights and use the second line, but go a little bit higher. So somewhere between the second and third line, which would make between 200 and 300 meters. When you take a shot, the shell should hit exactly where you were aiming for. Next up are the AT mines, and these are my favorite gadgets by now, so I have a few tips to share. First of all, when you place them and you die, they will stay on the map, so they won't disappear just because you have to respawn. They can only be removed by destroying or disarming them. And that's also the second thing you should know. If you see enemy AT mines and you don't want to waste your ammo on them or expose yourself by shooting, just walk over to them and pick them up. This will remove them from the map, and you will also receive XP for disarming them. Plus, when you have AT mines in your loadout yourself and you have placed them already, picking up the enemy mines will fill up your mines again, so you can place them again if you want to as your own mines. Note that you can only have 3 mines in total on the map at the same time, so placing new ones will always remove the already existing ones. And if you do this, you should know that you can place all of them inside of each other to make them less visible. You can even place them underwater. This is especially helpful on the new map Spearhead, where there are more defined paths for vehicles, and it also makes them even harder to see. And if you're not very patient and you want to use them a bit more actively, you can also throw them directly at a vehicle or place them next to it. Throwing them directly comes with a risk that you might also blow up yourself, but if it works, it's quite satisfying. Then there's the armor plates and the med pen, and for these I only have the info how to resupply them, cause the armor plates can be resupplied at all ammo crates or Angel's loadout drops, just like any other gadget, but for the med pen this is different. This one can only be resupplied at med crates and not at ammo crates or Angel's loadout drop, so in case you were wondering why they didn't refill, this might be the reason. Then for the med and ammo crates themselves, I also have a few tips or things you should know, and the first one is that you can always see the location of these crates on your minimap. So if you are in need of ammo or heals, check your map for nearby crates and get your resupplies. This does not only count for crates from allies by the way, but also for enemy crates. No matter who dropped them, you will see them on the map and you can interact with them. But even if there are no crates around, you can always identify teammates who would be able to help you by an icon above their heads. This only appears if you are low on health or ammunition already, so you won't see it all the time, but you can also request heals or ammo to check which one of your mates is carrying a crate with them, cause then the icon will show up as well, but only for a short moment. And if you do this, you will also have a little marker above the head yourself that indicates that you are in need of resupplies. If you request it, it will only show up for a short moment, but if you are really low on health or ammo, it will get triggered automatically and you won't have to do anything. Once you are resupplied or healed, the marker disappears. For C5, there's not much to say, only that you should take a closer look at the detonator after blowing something up, cause here you can find a little Easter egg where the display always shows a different message, but just try it out and see for yourself. And then there's the Soflam and the Insertion Beacon left, and for the Soflam I have two tips. First, you can not only use it to designate vehicles, so your teammates can lock onto them with their rocket launchers like I showed before, but it also spots infantry with a red dot above their heads and as a red dot on your team's minimap. If the enemies are a bit further away, you can also change the zoom of the scope by pressing the melee button, which should be F on PC or right stick on console with the default mapping. And what you should also know about the Soflam is that it has a red scope glint, but only for the enemies that you are looking at directly. From the side, the glint cannot be seen. And at the end, 3 hints to the Insertion Beacon, and the first one is that while your squad mates can use your beacon infinitely, it will be destroyed when you spawn on it yourself. So keep that in mind when using it and always remember to place a new one. If you should have placed the beacon at a spot but you would like to place a new one at a different location, you can also resupply it at Angel's loadout crate. Just remember that you can only have one active beacon on the map, so once you place a new one, the old one will be destroyed. And the beacon is not only useful as an additional spawn point, but also as a step ladder to get up on obstacles like containers. And that's it for today. I hope these tips help you to make even better use of all the available gadgets and throwables in Battlefield 2042. And if it does, don't forget to drop a like or a comment below and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more content like this. Until then, thanks for watching. I'm the Catwoman and you are awesome.